So, trypanosomes are a parasite. You can see some of the biology here. So I did mention kinetoplastids in the other video on parasites, which are species which have a large piece of mitochondrial DNA. You can see the kinetoplast there, just a bit of mitochondrial DNA. It has a tail, and depending on the location of the tail is the species. And you've got an immature form there without the tail. It tends to move in sort of like a screwing motion rather than a swimming motion. And there is an African and a South American form of the parasite. So you have the African form, which is spread by the tsetse fly. That causes African sleeping sickness. And then you have the South American form, and they spread Chagas. But recently, some of the African strain has actually been found in South America recently, I say within the last 100 years. It was originally detected by actually seeing it in the blood, but now due to new molecular techniques such as being able to test DNA and ELISA-based techniques, we can see more clearly that it definitely is there. And it is actually, as of 2001, been detected in 10 out of 13 South American countries. This may be because of mechanical transmission through travelling, novel vectors, cattle movement, so bringing over different cattle, and veterinary practices, so like vets bringing different samples of blood over. But usually T. vaxi is never found outside of tsetse endemic areas in Africa, so where there's a lot of tsetse flies. So, here are some key differences between the two. In the African form, it's spread by the tsetse fly doing a blood meal. In the South American form, it's when it sort of releases its feces and you have a wound in that area. It enters the wound site that way and enters the bloodstream. The African form has no intracellular stage, so it's always exposed to the host immune system, whereas with the South American form, it can enter cells and hide from the immune system. And here are the species that cause it. So for the African species, it's the T. brucei and subspecies T. vivax and T. congolese, whereas in the South American form, which causes Chagas, is T. cruzi. Some symptoms for the African form are fever and headaches, but if it develops and the parasite actually crosses the brain-blood barrier, then it can lead to confusion, disruption in sleep, and other neurological issues. With the South American form, it again causes fever, but it also causes fatigues, aches, pains, vomit, and diarrhea. And then if it enters the chronic phase, it can cause things such as tissue effects, such as irregular heartbeats and strokes. So there are 3 main species of the African trypanosome. Some of them can infect humans, some of them can affect animals. The animal forms are of concern because it's causing an economical impact. So it has actually been claimed to have been cured or got rid of before, but as soon as effects are lessened or like methods are lessened and they stop working against these trypanosomes, they sort of come back up again. And this is often due to there being asymptomatic infections that are acting as reservoirs for transmission. So they could think, oh, we've got rid of it, let's stop doing what we're doing. But there are people about who are actually infected, but they're just asymptomatic.